The bosses in Skyward Sword are some of the most epic feeling and also unique feeling bosses in the entire Zelda series.
So you're definitely talking about the Imprisoned.
Oh,
like feeling epic
and unique.
Unique like compared to other games, but not unique within the actual game. And speaking of that, what we did was, and we were not excited about this.
No.
You're not going to be excited about this, but we actually split up the Imprisoned fights and the Ghirahim fights into 6 separate bosses.
We felt like that each fight with the Imprisoned and Ghirahim felt different enough, with different enough strategies, that it did warrant splitting them both into 3 separate fights. With Ghirahim, they definitely felt...
They're in a different area, so that one was pretty easy, whereas the Imprisoned was a little more difficult.
Definitely.
Now, Levias and Bilocyte, we actually combined that for this ranking. We did that for our top 10 Zelda bosses, so we wanted to keep it consistent with that. And, like, in all honesty, it felt like the same boss fight.
It did.
Felt like you were fighting Levias the whole time. Just Bilocyte was like a second phase.
It was. Speaking of phases, you'll see we also included the Horde battle in this ranking, which even though you're not fighting like one boss, we felt like it was a stage of the final fight of the game. It's like you get that Horde battle leading up to Ghirahim, leading up to the final boss of the game.
It felt like Hyrule Warriors. It was just non-stop chaos.
Was.
Now, this game for the bosses, it implemented a lot of motion controls.
Yes, it
did. But, like, for some of the bosses, we really liked those motion controls. And for other bosses, like, you know, we were so-so on.
Now, please keep in mind that these rankings are just our opinions. You may agree with this, you may disagree, but I promise we're not attacking your favorite boss.
Yes. I'm glad you pointed that out, actually.
But if you disagree with us, definitely leave a comment for us. We love debating Zelda.
And then if you stick around till the end of the video, you can see our individual rankings and where we place each of these bosses.
This is our Skyward Sword.
You almost forget the
ranking.
video right there?
I almost forgot what video we're talking about. This is our Skyward Sword boss ranking.
Let's go to the video.
Our first fight with the Imprisoned is also just the most boring and simplest of the various fights we have with it throughout the game.
I would have been okay with the Imprisoned if this was the only time we fought him, but no, we had to do it numerous times throughout the game. And you know what? Slashing his like toes is just really a dumb concept, in my opinion.
It is, and how that makes him fall over all the way onto his back.
These little things are holding this huge creature up.
I do like the concept of using like an uppercut strike with your sword to knock that spike back into his head, though. That was a fun idea.
Now, how that spike hurts him is beyond me, like with how big he is right there.
Doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. But you know, I also like using the silk cloth in this fight, which we get in every fight, and going up around the silk grounds. I'm just not that big a fan of the character Ghirahim.
We'll get used to seeing
it. Yeah, just like the Imprisoned.
Yep.
But like, take that with him being the first boss in the game. He's just very bland. There's not a lot to this fight.
There really isn't. And also just his look. He doesn't look scary at all. It's just a very simple, like, white shirt and pants he's wearing. I'm not intimidated.
He doesn't feel like the villain. He feels like a friend. Like we're playing Skull Kid or something right now.
Now, I do like the charging sword attack he has where he runs at you. And you have to, like, jump aside and block it with your shield.
Now, I thought his daggers were actually kind of fun that he throws at you. It's kind of like the light orbs you get in other games. A little bit different, but just, I don't know, I kind of like that.
Plus, using the motion controls to get your sword at the right angle to block them from hitting you. Well done use of the motion controls. I'm just going to say, I'm not a huge fan of fighting the same boss multiple times throughout a game. So these guys are going to pop up pretty frequently at the bottom of our list.
And he looks so similar, really, to the first fight. His outfit's a little bit different. He's got a little more veins, but the fight was also very similar, but it did have some different concepts.
I liked the addition of like these floating daggers in the air around him, and also how he has 2 swords this time instead of just 1.
But having 4 daggers made the motion controls, plus his hand made the motion controls so hard in this fight.
But I do like he has that teleportation where he comes down with both swords jabbing into the ground. Cool concept.
I also love his different dagger attacks they threw at you right there. We just didn't have one. We had like, you know, horizontal, diagonal, and also a vertical one.
And then also that whole ring of daggers surrounds you that you had to use your spin attack against.
Now, you might be asking yourself, how did the third fight of the Imprisoned rank lower than the second fight? And the main reason for us was the electrical charge he has around his feet was just so frustrating during this fight.
It was so much faster than in any other Imprisoned fight that it made attacking his toes almost impossible at times.
Agreed. Now, there are some parts that we really liked. And it's right here, like that halo ring he gets above him. And then also how he floats up in the air and you got to attack him while he's in the air.
I liked using the Grusinator to shoot bombs at him while he's hovering in midair like that, and it drops him back down a little bit.
And then Link also gets in there, and we use Link and shoot him actually to the Imprisoned's head, and then from on top of there, he slashes down at the spear, killing the Imprisoned.
How many times did we have to fight this guy in this game? Jeez.
Well, just like the game, we're putting him back to back in our ranking, because in the game it feels like you fight him basically back to back.
It does feel like that. The second Imprisoned fight, though, had some cool things. I liked how he had his arms, and the visual of him trying to climb up the sides of the sealed grounds was cool.
I love the Grusinator, like we said, but I love, like, this actually occurred first, and that Grus actually came back and, like, started to helped us out in the game.
Finally. It's the story of Grus's redemption.
All I do was talk crap. He talked crap the whole game, and now he's finally here helping us.
I liked using the Grusinator to hit him when he was, like, slithering up the sides. It could actually be a little bit of a challenge to hit him when he's moving that fast.
One thing I hated was running all the way back down there to hit him, though. This was just a disappointing boss for a great dungeon.
Yes.
And a lot of that is just his look. Like, I think if he had a scarier look, he could have actually been better with the same phases and the same attacks.
I agree. And, like, the whole lead up to him where he's trying to sink the ship that you're in.
Yes, I love that.
It was cool. But Tintalus himself was a bit of a disappointment.
Now, trying to hit his tentacles with that Skyward Strike, I actually found difficult because he kept on grabbing you.
Yeah.
But how about the setting and the fight taking place, like, outside in a storm on the ship?
And I love how, like, with these snake heads coming to attack you.
I don't like it.
But it reminds you of like Medusa, who had just her hair was snakes. It was a cool idea.
Now the whole eye thing is a little bit played out, I think, but at least it was a huge eye that you got to slash away at.
I think this is the coolest looking boss on our countdown so far. Just fighting a giant scorpion like this. It really feels scary.
I just love his intro cinematic right there. Like, he throws both claws at you, and then you kind of like, I don't know what he's doing, growling, yelling, or whatever, but it's a cool intro cinematic.
Plus just the nickname, like the 1,000-year Arachnid. It fits the setting of the Lanayru mining facility as this ancient place. It fits it perfectly.
Now, I actually like the motion controls a lot for this fight. Like, it wasn't too difficult, and I think it made it a little bit fun, and it actually kind of felt realistic.
It did, and then the use of the gust bellows to actually...
I was a little worried how they were going to use a gust bell on a boss.
But using it to like get him out of the sand and then attack him was great. I just wish he'd have used his tail to attack us.
The Horde battle was just exciting chaos.
Oh, yeah.
It was just so much fun fighting all these enemies at once. It really felt similar to Hyrule Warriors.
Plus, just mowing down like wave after wave of these guys just makes you feel like a total BA.
This made mowing grass feel like nothing.
Yes.
With our sword.
Absolutely. And it's like, it really feels like Ghirahim is throwing everything he's got to slow you down and keep you from getting to the bottom of the sealed grounds.
I love that we got different enemies that we encountered throughout the game. Like, it just wasn't those vocal blends. Like, we got that big thing. I can't remember its name right there. But then, like, I actually also like going all the way down the sealed grounds. It felt like the whole game we were going up.
And then just this last wave that he makes appear at the very bottom. If it was a fitting end. It took a few tries, but we finally have a Ghirahim fight that both Hick and I enjoyed so much more than the first two.
I love that darker shade that he has, just a lot more intimidating, and then also the cracks in or veins in his body just look really good.
And I love the concept of fighting him on like these raised platforms above the sealed ground. Knocking him off is a lot of fun, but you also have the danger of falling off yourself.
And they brought back the light orbs, but in a different way, in a different concept with fire, and then they also incorporated the motion controls into that, which I really liked.
In the last stage of the fight, he pulls out this giant sword. Just love how it looks. And the idea of just like chipping away at it was really cool.
And they used motion controls too, which we also liked of that part. rock spider right here, or whatever kind of creature this is.
That's
I
a good
don't
name
know.
for it.
Like, he was just a very cool looking fiery boss.
Well, and I love the room that we fight him in.
Agreed.
I mean, we're on this narrow platform surrounded by lava and with that like skeleton running through the top.
You know, there's so many boss rooms that are like, you know, these wide open areas. Like you
Yeah.
said, it's kind of nice that we got a narrow like area to fight him in.
And I like the throwback to like King Dodongo and just Dodongos in general by throwing the bombs into his mouth to do damage.
I just love watching him roll all the way down and then chase after him, and then he gets his long legs right here. We get to watch him go all the way up and then roll all the way back down.
And I like seeing the chunks of armor slowly get blown off as
Definitely
we do
agree.
more and more damage to him. I'm not sure how the Windfish from Link's Awakening made it into Skyward Sword, but Levias was such a fun fight.
And finally, we get to use our Loft Wing
Yes.
in a boss fight. Like, I was waiting for this the entire game.
And just fighting him up in midair while you're flying through like the thundercloud area.
Yes.
It's really fun.
And then skydiving to his back right there.
Oh,
Just an
yeah.
awesome visual. Wasn't a lot to it, but still was fun.
And then just the fact that the second stage of the fight, we're riding on Levias through the
you can
sky.
see the background moving. And it kind of felt like baseball, the second stage to me.
Yes.
I love how Bilocyte kind of changed directions. It had to like point which way hit those, I don't know what those things are, but wherever they are, you had to hit them a certain direction.
It was a great use of the motion controls to aim the shots you hit at him.
This is how a final boss should look right here. Demise, by far my favorite final boss in the entire Legend of Zelda series.
And I just love this straight up sword fight in the first stage. It reminds me a lot of the Ganondorf fight in Twilight Princess.
And his sword looks so awesome right there
Yes.
too. But how about the second phase? Like, we've had lightning before, like
Yeah.
in the final boss, but for the first time we actually get to use it.
And I love how you both get like these skyward strikes built up in your sword, and you're just trying to get yours off before he does.
And then how about the reflecting water right there?
Love
Like,
it.
you know, you obviously got the storm in the background, but being able to like reflect and see everything, and the water was awesome.
And then how about trying to land that final blow? You get closer and closer every time until you finally nail it and finish him
Just
off.
so satisfying.
There is nothing in life cooler than just a giant golden six-armed machine. I just wish he wasn't coming to kill us.
Sex. Sex is cooler.
Okay, that's pretty cool, too.
There's only one thing cooler than Koloktos, but just a really incredibly fun boss fight. I was really surprised with the whip being the main item.
I know, and the way they used it to rip his arms off, though, I thought was
Yes.
a very innovative way to use the whip.
And then how about pulling out those 6 swords right there and
Oh.
getting, like, you know, pulling his arms away from his body.
And then picking up those swords to slash his legs out from under him was just a cool idea.
We got to use a big sword before, like in Wind Waker, but
Yeah.
like, we never got to use it like this chaotic right here and just slash away with just like no control. Was just so much fun.
As you can see from our individual rankings, we were actually really close in how we felt about these bosses.
Yeah, there were 5 we had the exact same spots, but like, you know, all over the board, though, like we have them in groups.
We
Like,
do.
you know, these went here and then these went up there.
Well, especially the Imprisoned and the Ghirahim fights down there holding down the bottom 5
It was
spots.
such a pain talking about the Imprisoned 3 different times.
It was, but all in all, it was a fun ranking to do.
Pretend like you're a bull and aim for that red button right there. It'll send you to our YouTube channel where you'll actually see we have a ton of Zelda videos and also give you a chance to subscribe to our channel.
We also post Zelda content to social media almost every day, so feel free to give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram or like us on Facebook.
Now if you click the video on the left, it'll send you to our Skyward Sword dungeon ranking. Clicking the video on the right will send you to our top 10 Zelda bosses.
And clicking on either video will send you to a playlist with all our Zelda rankings.